If you're a contractor here in the UK, let's be honest, there's not much out there that's more confusing or more important than IR35. It's a topic that can cause a whole lot of stress, but getting it right is absolutely vital for your finances. To help cut through that confusion, we're bringing you this discussion, which has been arranged by the experts over at ProTax Accountant.
And that quote, man, it really just sums it up, doesn't it? The second you get a question from a client or even HMRC about your IR35 status, it can be incredibly stressful. It's exactly that feeling of uncertainty that we're going to tackle head on today.
So let's start with the absolute basics. The entire IR35 universe is really split into two different worlds. You're either inside or you're outside. And figuring out what those two words actually mean is the first and most important step. Okay, so if you're found to be inside IR35, what that means is that HMRC, for tax purposes, sees you as an employee of your client. The key thing to get here is that your income is taxed at the source through the PAYE system, just like any other regular staff member. And then you've got outside IR35, which is, well, it's the total flip side. This is where HMRC agrees that you're a genuine, independent business, you're operating through your own limited company, you handle all your own tax affairs, and you get a lot more flexibility in how you pay yourself.
So let's boil it all down, right? Inside, you're basically an employee when it comes to tax. Outside, you're a proper business. And believe me, this one simple distinction changes absolutely everything, especially when it comes to what's in your wallet.
And that financial piece, that's where things get really interesting, isn't it? Let's talk about the bottom line, your take-home pay, because the difference between being inside or outside IR35 can be huge. To make this super clear, let's just imagine a pretty common scenario. Let's say you're a contractor. You're earning £80,000 a year. How does your IR35 status actually change what lands in your bank account at the end of the day? Okay, now take a look at these numbers because this is where the difference really hits home. Over on the left, inside IR35, you see a massive chunk, almost $23,000, disappears in income tax and national insurance. But on the right, outside IR35, yeah, your company pays corporation tax, but your personal tax bill is way, way lower, and that leads to a very different result. And there it is, over £3,000. That's potentially how much more you could have in your pocket every single year just based on your IR35 status. And that is not small change. And if you're more of a visual person, this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. You can see it clear as day. That outside IR35 bar is just higher. This is the real financial reason why it's so important to make sure your working practices show a true business-to-business relationship. Okay, so we get the what and we definitely get the why. Now, let's get practical and dive into the how. How can you actually check your own IR35 status and get some real clarity on where you stand? The official place to start is HMRC's own online tool. It's called CEST. You can find it on the gov.uk website. But, and I really want to stress this, be careful. It is not foolproof. The tool has been known to get things wrong, so you really can't rely on it as the final word. So if you are going to use it, you've got to do it right. First, get all your evidence together, your contract, emails, notes on how you actually work day to day. Then, when you run the tool, be brutally honest. If your client gives you what's called a status determination statement, remember you have the right to challenge it. And honestly, given it got it wrong in 15% of tribunal cases, getting a professional to review it is just a smart move. Look, if you want a quick gut check right now, just ask yourself these questions. Does your client tell you exactly how, when, and where to work? Could you genuinely send someone else to do your job? Do you have to fix your own mistakes for free? The answers to these questions start to paint a pretty clear picture of your real status. All right, that was a lot to take in, I know. So let's just pull back and recap the most important things you need to remember from all of this. So here's the deal. Inside is employee tax, outside is business tax. The money difference is real. And remember, our examples showed a few thousand quid, but in some situations, the hit to your take-home pay can be over 20%. Crucially, it's how you actually work that matters, not just some words in a contract. And while that CES tool is a place to start, it's definitely not the end of the story. And this really is the final question for you. Now that you've got this information, just take a second and think about your own setup. Are you 100% confident that your IR35 status is correct, that it's compliant, and that it's working for your financial future? You know, if there's even a tiny bit of doubt in your mind, the absolute smartest thing you can do is talk to an expert. For that professional advice tailored just for you, you might want to consider reaching out to the team at Pro Tax Accountant, who helped put this whole discussion together.